Riverside.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into a brand new episode of the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Green flag on 2026 so far. Welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Matt Cott, and alongside of me is my co-host, year 2 with me, Jake Phelps. What's up, Jake?
What's up, man? Glad to finally be back.
Yeah, long off
Happy
season.
long off season. Now I don't care about football anymore. We're full-fledged countdown to NASCAR, man.
I mean, both of us had our heart broken this past weekend in the wild card round. More so my heart than yours, because let's call it as a 42-year-old quarterback wasn't making the Super Bowl this year. But, yeah, no, 100%. Right, we are 3 weeks away now from the Busch Light Clash at Bowman's Gray. We're 5 weeks away from the 2026 Daytona 500. Really, really odd off season though. Really weird off season. We had so many storylines this past off season that it was kind of depressing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
As a fan of the sport, right? We had the antitrust lawsuit with 23XI, Front Row Motorsports. Seems like everything got resolved. We'll be talking about that a little bit later in the show. But then we had absolutely heartbreaking news that happened probably 2 weeks out, or a week and a half after the lawsuit was finalized, with the Biffle family wrecking, getting involved in a plane crash and then tragically passing away. Absolutely heartbreaking on that end. But then, to follow up the news cycle, 2 weeks after that, we ended up having the Hamlin house, or the house that Denny Hamlin owned. His father ended up dying. This has been one of the most brutally miserable off seasons I can ever recall as a NASCAR fan. And I'm talking off season. I know that we had, when Dale died, yes, that was in the regular season and all that type of stuff. And that was terrible. But in regards to off season, nothing. I mean, going into the off season, none of those storylines that I expected, minus the lawsuit.
Yeah. No, NASCAR was in the media a lot this off season, and
Yeah.
it wasn't. Unfortunately, it wasn't in a good. None of it really was. I mean, the lawsuit minus that was good, but wasn't really that big of the greatest news you want to hear. Saddening news. I mean, I think I think the best news that we just got was what the fans have been dying for, and that's the points change, which we'll get into later. But
yeah,
it wasn't an exciting, I should say, off season.
Yeah, like you said, I think the sport was in the news, obviously, for all the wrong reasons. And, obviously, heartbreaking news, again, with the Biffles and obviously Dennis Hamlin's passing. The lawsuit finally looks like that got resolved, finally. And we're going to be talking about all those topics tonight, right? We're going to be talking about the lawsuit. We're going to be talking about the new playoff format. I know a lot of our fans were looking forward to it. I have some strong opinions about both sides of that. Looking forward to getting it with you. Before we obviously get into topics tonight, if you're listening to us live on Facebook or on our YouTube page at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast, feel free, Blown Engine chat line wide open. So anything we say that really either you like, feel free to comment. If you get really pissed off about it and you need this spread and share your opinion, feel free. We're wide open. We're holding people's court, obviously, with some of the topics tonight. Before we get into it as well, we wanted to make a show announcement. Obviously, we entering 2026. Right now, we are working on a couple shows on the road. But what we do have confirmed, I think a lot of people on this that are fans of our show already know this. Our Pocono annual tailgate will be this year as well. So it'll be the 3rd annual tailgate up the Tricky Triangle. We'll be back up there as well. More details to come later in the season. We're in January right now. We're just scratching the pace laps. We're not even close to Pocono. We haven't even gotten the race one yet. But and then obviously throughout the season, we'll be definitely discussing. Jake and I have some good plans and ideas. Hopefully we can get them finalized. Hopefully March or April. We would love to do a nice show on the road somewhere different, right?
For sure.
So stay tuned to us, and we'll definitely have them all posted up for you as well. Again, if you like what you're hearing, follow us on YouTube at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast, Facebook at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Each week we'll be posting up a fan question of the week. We'd love to hear your engagement and your reaction to those questions. Again, we're going to be calling it our Thirsty Thursday question of the week. So feel free to chime in. We'll post something up, just free banter, whatever you want to discuss, all good stuff. So follow us, Facebook at the Brooklyn Wilbraham Podcast. So, Jake, before we get into the real heavy topics, we do have a couple sponsorship updates to get to the audience tonight, all courtesy of jski.com. First up, Joe Gibbs Racing announces partnership with Freebird Southern Spring Water. They'll be sponsoring Chase Briscoe for 3 races in 2026. The 2026 Daytona 500, the ball field grass design finally announced. We'll post that up on our Facebook page probably tomorrow morning so you can take a look at it. It is pretty beautiful. Stars basically going into the turns 1 and 2. Stars basically on the edge coming out 3 and 4. And you got planes designed in the grass in the middle of the ball field. I loved it. That's why, to be honest with you, it sounds stupid. I love landscape.
Oh yeah,
I'm a weirdo with landscape.
I look forward to that every year. What are they gonna?
Bingo.
What is it gonna be this year?
I think they nailed it out of the park with the design this year. I like that a lot. Update number 3, Chili's Grill and Bar will be signing a multi-year extension with Spire Motorsports. So yes, we're going to hear more of Ride the Dente probably commercials in 2025 or 2026. Wow, shit. And then up next, we have Supply House will be sponsoring Tyler Reddick in 2026 for multiple races. Supply House is a leading e-commerce provider of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies. Next update, Chef Boyardee will be sponsoring Ricky Stenhouse Jr. for multiple races in 2026. I'm happy to see Stenhouse get some of these grocery store sponsorships back. I know Kroger's was with them for a while. I think the cars always look sleek, and it's cool to see like Sunny D's with him, Nos. Now you got Chef Boyardee. It's pretty cool. Finally, Tony Stewart will be making a return for the Craftsman Truck Series race at Daytona this February, driving a colleague Dodge Ram truck. So, a couple of the minor updates coming out of the offseason going into 2026. Tony Stewart, that was real quick. All sponsorship updates courtesy at jski.com. Follow him at jski.com. But Tony Stewart, man, I'm not. I think he's a douchebag. I'm sorry.
I never.
He might be one of the best NASCAR drivers of all time. Oh, yeah. And if I have Stewart fans online, I'm sorry to say it. And like, listen, I think that some of his arguments with NASCAR is some of the best of all time, like the best interviews with Goodyear Tire. But at the same time, like, I think what he did for me, the way that he left Stewart-Haas Racing to like prove a point in NASCAR, really pissed me off. And I was like, good riddance. I don't think we ever need to hear from you ever again. And then ironically, Ram goes into the Craftsman Truck Series, and guess what happens? Guess who's driving a Ram truck going into Daytona? Shocker.
Yeah, I didn't need to see him again, but.
Yeah, me neither. I was kind of like, granted, I know Jimmy Johnson's going to run the San Diego Street Course and the Craftsman Truck back in June this year, but I'm so Tony Stewart out with he's like the ex-girlfriend. He really is. He just
never
like
goes away.
He never goes away.
Pops up
doesn't
randomly.
Get his way. No. Doesn't get his way at all. All of a sudden leaves the relationship, leaves you basically like all upset and all that type of stuff. It's like, what did I do? All of a sudden comes back when it's convenient.
Yeah.
Shocker. Dodge is in the sport. I know he drives Mopar in the NHRA. He drives Mopar in NHRA. So I'm sure there's a connection there and all that type of stuff. But it's like, dude, enough. Like the way, as I said, the way that he left Stewart-Haas Racing after during the 2024 season, I think like one of the most emotional wins was Briscoe that year, because he's like, our team didn't even know that. Our team didn't even know, like, we were all losing our jobs. And I don't know, it's just not really a fan of him. And like I said, it's not really I know there's Stewart fans, but I'm not one of them. I'm really not.
No.
And
I mean, I'll tip my hat off to him for the career that he had. It was fantastic, phenomenal. It was amazing to watch him race for so many years, but I kind of had a feeling with him being so in with Mopar and NHRA that he was going to be somewhat involved with his Ram truck.
Yeah, I mean, open. Again, I just kind of like, I don't know. I just I'm kind of over Tony. I just
Yeah.
really am. And he can go pound rocks and, not rooting for anything bad to happen. Of course not. But again, he's the ex girlfriend that just never goes
Yeah.
away. So, Jake, let's get into the heavy topic tonight. First one up. What do we want to talk about first? Settlement, lawsuit, or do we want to talk about the chase?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about the lawsuit. I mean, I haven't, to be completely honest, with you, looked too much into it. I've seen a lot of headlines. I haven't read a lot of articles, but I kind of got a gist of what happened. Um, I think it needed to happen. I'm kind of happy it happened. I have been talking about it for a while. That, don't get me wrong, I love NASCAR, but NASCAR is turning into a monopoly with how they, I own this, you go through me type of shit. So I feel like it was a needed to happen, and and I think the person to do it was Denny Hamlin, to be like, I'll just I'll face him
Right.
head on, and I'm happy with the turnout. And you probably have a lot more on it than I do, but
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Obviously, we brought for the fans that are just tuning in that really never followed up and got the reaction. First of all, it was a very ugly lawsuit, right? And
hmm
we knew that this was going to happen.
yep,
I was pounding the table for almost a full calendar year when Denny and Michael and Front Row Motorsports didn't sign that agreement in late 2024. I said the worst thing that NASCAR could do is get into a lawsuit with Michael Jordan.
hmm
Why is that? Michael Jordan is one of the most powerful athletes of all time. And for the true blood NASCAR fans that don't really follow other sports and are like, well, who's Michael? Like, you can't stand up to NASCAR. No, he can. Like, out of
hmm
all of them, he probably could. Like, he's got the lawyers. He got into a fight with EA Sports years ago, multiple sponsorships. I mean, at one point, I think EA Sports wasn't even allowed to have his name license in a video game because he was like, "No, I'm not getting a cut of it. No, you're not taking my
yeah,
likeness." So I said this for a full calendar year. The worst person that NASCAR could have ever gotten into a fight with is Michael Jordan, and really, honestly, Denny Hamlin. Denny
yeah,
Hamlin, kind of to me, he stood his ground on the lawsuit. He's like, no, I'm not signing this. I'm not going to get bullied. I don't care.
hmm
And yeah, there was a lot of fans that were very nervous and scared of, well, they're going to lose their drivers in Tyler Reddick. They're not chartered. They're going to get. And you know what? Those two sat there and they stood their ground. But again, very ugly lawsuit. Obviously, we saw the repercussions of the lawsuit with Steve Phelps resigning last week, which to me, there was no coming back at all
no,
from what was revealed during that lawsuit for Steve Phelps to be president of NASCAR. And
oh
I think
yeah,
the biggest thing that absolutely killed him was when he called Richard Childress basically a POS redneck.
yeah. I mean, I think he opened his mouth. I read a little bit on him. I think he opened his mouth a little too much, and I mean, with him stepping down, I mean, what are you going to come back and then no one have any respect for you?
That's the biggest thing, right? Like, and everyone was like, "Well, like, he's the president of NASCAR. Like, he can do." No, 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 no. It doesn't matter if you're the president of NASCAR or an owner. First of all, Richard Childress has been in the sport for a very long time. Our older fan base loves Richard Childress. They try, they respect what Richard Childress has built at RCR. And you had Steve Phelps, who's been in the sport since 2014. He came over, I believe. I don't have it in front of me. I'll definitely fact check it later tonight. I believe he came from the NFL. And again, he came in to try to revitalize NASCAR. Again, he was the big head honcho that kind of put in the old playoff system, got rid of the chase. For me, I think Steve Phelps didn't do a bad job. Again, as president, I think he did a job where I was like, it wasn't great, it wasn't terrible, it was slap dab in the middle. I'll
Yeah.
give him credit. I was a big playoff fan. I liked it, so I'll give him credit for that. I will give him credit for the television contract that he helped negotiate with TNT, Amazon Prime. But I can understand why the older fan base hated him, right? They hated the playoffs. They hated the television contract, the new one. Totally respect that. Now, the one thing I will give Steve, this is where I will knock Steve Phelps, and I think every NASCAR fan that's listening to us on tonight's show or, in the near future, I will knock Steve Phelps for the development and help amplifying the development of the next gen car. The next gen car is complete garbage.
hmm
Total garbage. And when you're trying to bring new packages, right? Like think about it. They're bringing packages to make races better with the vehicle, right? Like the tires back at Richmond in 2024. They didn't even NASCAR itself didn't even trust its own product. That they had to change and I get it. They change packages all the time, but like I've never heard of a racing series that's like, "You know what, dude? Our car sucks. You know what's going to make it more exciting? We're not going to add horsepower to it. We're going to add new tire options." Like the wet weather tires are great, but like you had the soft tire, the option tire, like I mean, and again, it made the races better, but you're protecting a product that was piss poorly designed. So
Yeah.
that's where I'll knock Steve Phelps for that. And again, to me, I was never really, I was indifferent about him. Like he wasn't great, he wasn't bad, but like I said, when this lawsuit came out, they revealed what he has said and all that type of stuff. It's like, yeah, no, there's 0% chance he's ever coming back.
Yeah. No, I totally
Um,
agree with you.
So the end of the lawsuit, like I said, we had Steve Phelps to fall out of that. But the end of the lawsuit, and what was really kind of agreed upon in the settlement, our source Bob Pockris, Fox Sports, he broke it down right after the settlement was over. The framework was this: 2/3 of the team need to okay the renewal of the new charter that gets agreed upon between NASCAR and the owners, which is fair, right? Because if you remember in 2024, NASCAR kind of bullied all these owners to sign this deal. They're like, no, there's no option. There's no option.
Yeah.
And Denny and Michael are like, no, stay pat. Stay pat. They got to give us a better option. But everyone got bullied. The next agreement was if the deal does not get signed or renewed, all the teams that did not renew, they are still chartered and get a year or possibly more to sell the charter. So they have more time to sell the charter, which I think is fantastic, right? You don't like where the sport's going, you want to get out of it because of the charter agreement. You can't just amplify the sale. You can't just be like, listen, you got 2 weeks to sell the charters or it becomes NASCAR's property. That's bullshit. That's a monopoly.
Yep.
The next agreement was if they don't meet a certain performance standards, if the teams don't meet a certain performance standards, they must sell, but they do get time to sell. So if the teams are not, performing at a higher expectation, I guess this kind of, I hate to say it, but it kind of goes to like Rick Ware Racing a little bit, but they'll get an opportunity in time to sell. And then on the sale of the deal, NASCAR will get 10% of the deal. Originally it was 2%, but you do have to give a little give and take to NASCAR. So that's a lot of the, kind of the settlement frameworks that came out of the lawsuit.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I think for NASCAR's best interests, I think they are smart that they settled because what do you have happen if you don't? When and then you have people like, and then they go, you know what? Fuck it, we're gonna go make our own racing series. And then you start losing guys, and guys like, oh, I'm gonna go race for them. I'm gonna go race for them. I'm gonna go race for them. Like, oh, we're gonna make our own. It's
well,
the same shit that happened with Outlaw Racing when Larson and Sweat got together and like we're gonna make our own because we don't like the way it's going. And they took big names like that's what's just gonna happen. And I don't really think you want that divide in racing. You know
no,
what I mean?
well, you don't. And there was, I mean, well, similar to what LIV did with golf, right?
Yeah,
The PGA and
exactly.
LIV, they split. We have seen this in other sports, but I don't feel like NASCAR is first of all, I don't think NASCAR is in a financial position to end up losing that type of atmosphere. Now, the one thing that came out of the lawsuit is a couple of the texts that were going back and forth with SRX, right? They talked about SRX being like a redneck, like, dungeon sport. Like, we don't care about, like, listen, I love NASCAR more than anybody. There is no denying, though, that NASCAR's ratings in 2025 took a nosedive. And I'm not going to sit there and say it was anything to do with the television broadcast. Believe it or not, Amazon Prime had the highest broadcast ratings of the whole entire season. So for all the fans that say, oh, well, it's the broadcast, the one that actually performed was Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
NASCAR, though, has a legit competition with them. And for how much I knock the sport, and I think it's an entitled follow the leader sport, they do have competition with what F1's doing with the younger demographic in this country.
Yep. Yeah, and they gotta compete with it.
So I'm going to ask this question to our audience tonight. There's multiple questions going to be asked, so feel free to chime in on the Blown Engine chat line. With the resignation of Steve Phelps, who do you think would who would be a great president for NASCAR that can help NASCAR grow into the correct direction? I want to
Good
say my
question.
answer. I want to say my answer right now, and I think it's Dale Jr. and Kelly Earnhardt, or yeah, Kelly Earnhardt and Dale Jr. should be president and vice president of the sport.
Yeah, I think you need to get a veteran race driver who doesn't race anymore, who actually gives a shit about the sport.
Well, and that's the other thing, right? And I think that the two of them, they have the business aspects and the business sides and the media sides down pretty damn well. Look at what Dale Jr. did to get North Wilkesboro back on the schedule. Like realistically, North Wilkesboro 7 years ago was a dead track.
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah,
I get it. During COVID, the state of North Carolina got funding to, elevate racetracks and all that type of stuff. But they literally took a video of Dale Jr. going to North Wilkesboro with a weed whacker and weed whacking the track.
yeah.
And we're hosting a points race there in 2026. Like that was 6 years ago.
It's crazy.
I think that
Kelly Earnhardt's probably one of the smartest and probably greatest. What's the word?
probably assets. Probably assets.
Yeah, assets. Yeah, that's the perfect word. Like that lady is a lady like that. Like you would, the amount of people that I think you would bring more back into the sports, like the older generation who's like, "Fuck this shit sucks now."
Yeah.
You get them people back because then they're like, "Oh shit, they got somebody in here who gives a shit and who knows NASCAR and wants it to be NASCAR again." Because I don't really think it's the same anymore.
And I think that the audience and Jake, and going back to our point, I think the audience is kind of feeling the same direction, right? With
Yeah.
with the audience, like, and I'm not saying the attendance at tracks is dying. I'm not, and I get that people grandstand, nitpick, and all that type of stuff. But when you look at the numbers from audience in 2025, even from 2024 to 2025, we had a decline. We did, and it had nothing to do with the broadcast partners because the ones that actually performed where they were supposed to perform was the one that ended up leaving or coming into the sport, Amazon Prime. We got Jack checking in on the Blown Engine chat line. He says Mark Martin would be good. He doesn't own any cars in the series. That's a very, very interesting sport. Or sorry, it's an interesting name, and that's going to transition us to probably the next topic of conversation with the Chase.
Yeah.
Because you know who was a massive player with the Chase and who was at that press conference on Monday? Mark Martin.
Yeah.
Mark Martin was a massive, he was at the press conference for the introduction of the Chase playoffs again. And his biggest key words were, my fans told me we need, I'm not watching this anymore because I can't stand the playoffs. And Mark's like, well, we need you as fans. So, and he was instrumental with that. So we're going to segue from the lawsuit, and then we're going to head over to let's talk about the return of the Chase. And I know a lot of fans of ours were pretty excited about it. I know a lot of people were very excited to hear the return of it. I got some opinions on both sides of the fence, so this is going to be a real hot topic of conversation for all of us here on the Broken Wheel Bearing podcast tonight. If you've been living under a rock, NASCAR returns to Chase Championship format for the 2026 season. A couple of key takeaways that I thought NASCAR did a sensational job with. The new format uses the framework of the system that was in place from 2004 to 2013. So you got that playoff taste, but it wasn't the ball and stick sport playoff. Several key enhancements, though, that are different from the previous installment. The field sizes for the Chase in each series remain the same. So the top 16 drivers in the Cup Series, 12 and O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and the 10 in the trucks, but all drivers qualify based on regular season points. The win and you're in rule that provided regular season winners with automatic playoff berths is no more. That's out. And I think a lot of fans are really excited about that because considering the fact that there was a driver that won 5 road courses that was not a threat last year, that doesn't count anymore. You need to be in the top 16. Race winners. So kind of going back to me where I'm like, hey, as an athlete, don't you want to win? Isn't winning all what's best for you? Well, NASCAR heard the people that loved drivers who win. Race winners now collect 55 points. That was a 15-point increase over the previous point system. So when the chase was first out from 04 to 13, it was only 40 points per win. Now it's 55 points. That is a massive swing differential. Points awards for all other positions and stage results remain the same, but bankable playoff points are no longer part of the format. So winning a stage is still crucial. Like you'll still get points for that, but there's no playoff points. So you're not banking like at the end of the season this year, we're not going to see like Larson had 26 playoff points. That doesn't exist anymore.
No.
It's just going to go right into the point system.
Mm-hmm.
Points will be reset for each series. The chase field with a 25-point premium awarded to the regular season champion. So again, we're rewarding what you've done in the regular season more. And then the top seeds will start the chase with 2,100 points, 2,075 for the second seed, and 2,065 for the third, with a 5-point drop off for each seed after. The Cup Series chase spans for the final 10 races of the season, with 9 chase races for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and 7 in the Craftsman Truck Series. And then the driver with the most points at the end of the season will be the series champion. So a couple questions, I guess, for the audience tonight. And if you're listening to us on the live and you want to chime in on the Blown Engine chat line, again, feel free. My question for you, Jake, I said this in the pre-show. Let me pull up. Give me a second. Let me pull this up. The question for me to the audience is, will the new chase playoff system, will that bring joy to both sides of the fan base, right? You had a lot of the older fan base that wanted points to determine the champion. And then some of the fans love the playoff system. But will the chase, and with all the additions that they made, will it finally bridge the gap between the demographics of the fan base?
Yeah, no, I think everybody's been begging for this. I'm happy that it's back because I mean, dude, I'm gonna go back to last year and everybody's like, "Oh, that's a fake. Like Larson shouldn't have won the championship." Oh, if you want to go back and put it into the point season that's going to be this year, he would have won. So now, like your whole point on, oh, he shouldn't have won. Denny Hamlin had all these wins, and well, wins don't matter now. But no, I think it's going to be good. I think I like it doesn't give you that like at the end of the season when Denny had that shit race, his car had malfunctions, and then who's at the next race? Briscoe had like your race, like you need to be perfect every week.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that when it comes to driving. I think you're going to see a lot more aggressive driving. And one of my questions that I just actually thought about, I'm going to bounce off of your question is, and you kind of mentioned it already. How does Trackhouse Racing go with this now? Because now they don't automatically have a car in.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question, right? Like, I mean, and again, not to pick on Trackhouse and all that type of stuff, right? Because I do think that Van Gisbergen has talent. I mean, he is one of the best road racers I've ever seen, right? But like every year, we always had that like one winner that would get into the playoffs, and I really, to be honest with you, I don't think last year. I think last year was the icing on the cake to get a new playoff system. I think that you could really point back in the history of the playoff system. You could point back to, August 2024 when Austin Dillon ended up winning Richmond and he took out Denny Hamlin and he took out Joey Logano. And I think that a lot of fans, and I think the government of the sport basically looked at that and like, yeah, this can't fly anymore. We're gonna lose fans because of this.
Well, I mean, dude, look at it. I mean, look at it this year. I mean, and again, not picking on SVG, but a guy who finished in the bottom 20, and you had a guy who raced good all year, and Tyler Reddick didn't make it in. And I think he would have been more of a threat in the playoffs than SVG was, and it showed.
Well, for sure. And you're thinking of Chris Buescher.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, you're thinking of Buescher. Yeah, no, you're good. But no, like I mean that. But again, though, like Buescher didn't make the playoffs last year, and like I get it. That was a system, right? And it sucks. But like when I look at Chris Buescher, it's like okay, you go to Darlington. Who's more of a threat, SVG or Buescher? One's racing for a championship, and the one's not racing for a championship. And guess who's finishing in the top 10? And guess who? I think it,
Yeah.
and I think Dale Jr. said it best in the press conference or Monday, excuse me. He said, he's like, it doesn't create any more confusion with our fan base.
No.
It doesn't create any more confusion for the fan base. The guys who are running in the front are supposed to be expected to be in the champion, like running for a championship. And again, like I said, 2024, I think is really when they started having this hard conversation. But since the playoffs been intact, right? Even the first inaugural season, Ryan Newman made the championship four. You know how many wins Ryan Newman had that year? 0.
Mm-hmm.
He had 0 wins. So like there was always flukes in every single season in the playoffs that we saw. And listen, I love Chase Elliott more than anybody. I think his 2020 championship run was one of the most immaculate runs ever. But who's the best car in 2020? It was Kevin Harvick.
Mm-hmm.
But in that system, he wasn't the best car. Now, on the flip side, the contradictory, to go on the defense of the playoffs, I do think that the playoffs did create a lot of chaotic and fun moments. Right? I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think that the Hail Melon exists if the playoffs never existed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, screw it. I mean, how many Ross Chastain situations could we have seen? And it's like, well, we saw to get into the next round.
Yeah.
So I think that the playoffs were fun for what it for. I think the playoffs were fun. I thought they were. I don't think they were as awful as everyone says.
No, it was different.
It was different, and I guess that they were trying to emulate a ball and stick sport. But I think that obviously the course of the playoff system it ran its time, right? And
Mm-hmm.
especially with the emergence of F1 and following and a lot of people in this country following the F1 system, they're like, well, why does F1 do that? And why do you guys have playoff? I don't get that. So I'm hoping that this creates a lot of eliminates confusion within the fan base. I'm hoping it bridges the gap together between the older fan base and the newer fan base. No, we're not going to go to a full like Winston Cup point system ever again. We're just not. But I think that this is a good compromise between the both of them.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to it. I mean, with that being said, Chase Elliott might be a 5-time champion now because it's consistency.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's true. Basically, it's good about you. Basically, it's got to be consistent.
I mean, yeah. I mean, now I don't have to hear it's consistent all season, but it doesn't mean anything until the
Yeah.
ring. It's not round of 8, So,
Yep.
yeah, no, I'm excited for the new chase system. I hope the fans are too. And there's a lot of moral support going. There's a lot of support going around with it, right? When you have former drivers such as Mark Martin and Dale Jr. talking so highly about it, I think that should really get everybody excited. And not saying that we need to listen to every older like driver that was in the sport, but Dale Jr.'s got a lot of pull in the sport, and Mark Martin does too. Mark Martin has a massive social media presence. He has a massive fan base that follows him on social media. They talk. He's very vocal on social media too. Our friend
Yep.
Triova Life and him, they're connected all the time. So yeah, I mean, it's a good start and it's a good direction. I am excited though, and it seems, and as Dale Jr. said, race 1, lap 1. It's no more. Well, let's circle the calendar. What track we can, win and
Yes.
get in. Right? It's no, I can't take an off week. Like I have to be,
Yes.
like I'm even though I'm not winning the race. Like, and the other thing too, it's like sorry to get real deep in this conversation, but the other thing too is if a car is damaged, right? We saw they changed the vehicle policy or damaged vehicle policy last year. They let cars go back on the track if it's fixed. I mean, you're probably going to see that a lot this year
Oh
too,
yeah.
right? Like, listen, we wrecked, we got the car fixed. We can't take the DNF. Just run the laps, go get like 37th or 36 just to get the points.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it kind of brings NASCAR back to the ground roots of the sport.
I agree.
So, question number 2, we were kind of jumping. Like I said, question number 1 is that like I said, will it bridge both the fan bases together, the older demographic, the younger demographic. My second question to the audience tonight, right? And we kind of talked about this again in pre-show, Jake. Second question to the audience: will the new playoff point system help veteran drivers like Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch, who, let's call it as is, Kyle won a championship in this format, in the old format. But since he went to RCR, talk about a driver who really just put up consistent numbers, but didn't put up the wins to get himself into the playoffs or a deep playoff run. is this a driver that we can probably start talking about maybe as a championship caliber driver in the new system?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, you already hit it. He was consistent. He did finish very well in a lot of races. Same with Brad K. Um, but yeah, I think you bring back you put those veteran drivers back in it, and now you to win. I mean, you have to beat the best every week. Don't get me wrong, but when you hear those names in the conversation to win, you got to be on your p's and q's every week. And I know these other drivers don't have the utmost respect for these guys, and they race them hard every week, and that's what they want. But yeah, no, I think, and I actually like. I feel like it gives a lot of drivers who also are younger and newer into the sport a little bit more of because you see guys that will finish that you don't hear their names talked about every week, but then you'll see them up in the top 5 some weeks and this week, and then like, y- but I personally am excited because I love Kyle Busch, so I am excited to see his name back in there, and I love the way Brad races, so and I think they're gonna like it a lot more since basically going back to how they came into the sport. So,
Yeah, and I kind of had this conversation with somebody, and you kind of said something. You made a point about this, right? And it's like these young, like younger drivers. Like when I think of like younger drivers, I think of like the Todd Gillens of the world. Like I think of those guys that like every single week they're battling for positions, but like. Can they win a race? Like in the old system, could they win a race? For sure, they could have. Super speedway, all that type of stuff. But I was talking to my dad about this a long time ago, and he goes, "You know what the playoff system eliminated?" He goes, "The battle of positions in like 23rd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 21st, because those were the drivers that were just really racing just to get the points."
mhm.
And in the playoff system, right? It's like, okay, well, like you could really luck out, get a win, all that type of stuff. So, but like now it's kind of like, okay, well, we're like every position on the track where it's, not saying that it wasn't important for those track positions, but now every single week it's like, okay, well, we have a 23rd, we have a 21st place car. How do we go from 21st to 17th?
Mhm.
It's not like, okay, well, I tuned it up. Like, we got a super speedway, just run the draft perfectly fine and go from there. So I'm hoping that all the tracks and like at first when they made the announcement, I was a little nervous about like with the playoff system. I loved how every race was almost critical, right? Every race was critical. You made one mistake in the playoffs. Guess what? You had a hard week to get yourself back into the rhythm again. And that's why I was kind of nervous that the new system would take away. But then I was thinking about it and I'm like, you know what though? Like, will it really like every race is still impactful? Like, yeah,
Oh
the
yeah.
championship race might be like, okay, if you had, in the championship race, like, for years in the chase system, we had Jimmy Johnson get on the homestead. It was like, well, if he finishes 33rd or less, he's not the champion and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, like this is what the fan base wanted this. They
Yeah.
wanted like because they were like, well, what's the point of being so good in the regular season for you to have three bad races and then all of a sudden you're out of the you're out of the championship. Like look at Hamlin, right? This past season, and like yeah, Larson won the championship and all that good stuff. But like you look at Hamlin, it's like you got like what, you got 8 laps to go, and the tire gets blown, and then you lose the championship. And
Mhm.
like yeah, that's great television, but I feel like you needed to make the switch because I think that the audience also dictated that they were fed up with it. They
Yeah,
were. So
but your whole point about Jimmy Johnson, oh, if he fit like back then when it was like, oh, 30, well, the dude earned it
he
all
did. I
season
know.
and
Yeah. Oh,
gained
no,
points to be
absolutely.
like, you know what I mean? And people did complain about it for sure, but I'm like, it goes back, and I'll use Larson again as a thing that, oh, he earned it. Like he raced, like the guy was, his name was brought up every freaking race. Like it wasn't like the guy wasn't in a race unless he freaking wrecked, but like you can't be upset about it. Like it ain't gonna be the perfect world.
No, and honestly, and listen, Jake for years the old chase system there was inefficiencies in the old chase system, and there's probably going to be inefficiencies in this one too. Something's going to happen that's going to get the fan base all riled up. We all know it.
Yeah, someone's
And
gonna
like
make
I
him
said,
upset.
again, like back then, like you would listen to MN or MRN, you listen to, and it's like, well, he goes down the home say Jimmy Johnson finished 33rd in this race. He doesn't have a chance. That'll be the only time he doesn't have a chance to win the championship. And it's like, okay, well, Jimmy locked it in, but at the same time, like Jimmy Johnson also like let's not take the body of work what that driver did all throughout the season, right? Like, and I
Hmm.
feel like the playoffs tried to course correct itself with making sure that we didn't do like every race was important, which it was, but at the end of the day, it's like, did we really crown true champions? And that was the question that the fan base asked. Now, for me, I've always said this because I'm a ball and stick sport guy. Whoever shows up at the championship race and they win the championship, guess what? You're the champion. I
Yeah.
really do not care because for me, the body of work, you did enough in the regular season and the playoffs to get yourself to that position. Great athletes adjust,
Yep.
and I think that I think there's pros to this system as well. And I think that it's going to resonate a little bit better for a lot of people who are very points driven.
Yeah.
And, someone brought it up. They're like, hey, look, Joey Logano, he's going to have to race every single week. He can't have that fluke win and magically go on the run in the
Yeah.
playoffs. I mean, so
Yeah. No. But real quick before we move on, like it made my brain think of like guys that I'm thinking about that could really this new. You brought up you brought up Gillen, which is a great name, right? You know who I
yeah,
thought about for this? Who you might see his name pop up a lot more? McDowell.
who's that? Yeah, McDowell. No, that's a great name. I mean, listen, McDowell all the way. I mean, when we look at the 2025 stats, right? McDowell was in the top 16 in points. I believe he
Yeah.
started fading off. I believe it was right when Amazon Prime, I think when they switched over to Prime. I think it was like right when they went to Coke or the Coke 600. That's when you
Yeah.
saw McDowell start fading out in the points. But yeah, no, I mean, like you said, guys like McDowell, like this is gonna be benefit. Carson Hocevar,
Yes.
Ty Gibbs, Hocevar. I mean, this system's gonna help these guys like become. Now, I'm not saying year one of the system, Carson Hocevar is your champion. But now you got, Spire's got something to race for if
Hmm.
if he gets into the top 16.
For sure. And he was consistent for a long period of time this year.
Long
And
period. I mean, Jake, last year, multiple times on our show, we kept talking about how great Hocevar's been. I mean, he had some fluke luck at Texas, Charlotte, Michigan, where things didn't go mechanically his way. But yeah, I mean, those are the drivers I'm starting to look at and go, you know what? Like now you're going to really start seeing guys who actually have the talent behind the wheel.
yep.
And and again, I think every single one of these drivers has talent behind the wheel. I really do. Minus one driver, and that's Cody Ware. But um, sorry, I'm not Cody Ware. I feel bad, but um, every single driver in this sport has a bunch of talent. They do, and like I get it. The SVG won 5 road course races. He was in the playoffs, and everyone got pissed off about it. Okay, well, you know what? Like SVG is in that car because he has talent. And listen, Trackhouse was innovative. They knew what the system was. Hey,
Hmm.
we need, you know what? How do we continue building our program? Well, we need money. How do we get money? Well, we win races. How do we win races? Well, and then we get into the playoffs. Maybe we get in the championship run. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys, like I said, that don't win like week in and week out. That I think that could be legit. I mean, Ross Chastain. I think that this is a great system for Ross
Oh yeah.
Chastain. This is a great system for Chastain. I mean, we won't get a Hail Melon ever again, which sucks. But I mean, at the same time, like it's a great system for a guy like Ross Chastain.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're gonna see like I know for the past few years you've kind of seen the same names up there, the same handful of guys who make it in every year. And I just think this year I think you're gonna see different names and people are gonna be like, wow.
So I got a question for you. That is interesting. You said that we saw a lot of the same names in the playoff format over and over again. Is there one driver you look at the system and you go, take SVG out of it because he's a road course runner? Is there one driver that you look at the system and you go, you know what? Like, yeah, I don't foresee him getting into the top 16. He
For the new
won
system,
in the new system, yeah.
one
Because
driver.
I got one name for you.
One driver who I think has no chance.
Not no chance, but
Not
like
no
is gonna.
chance. I mean, I got a handful of people who I like a driver who like it's you hear his name once in a blue moon and gets in on a fluke win. It's Austin Dillon.
Yeah, I really think that this could be the end of Austin Dillon's career.
Yeah. I think this new point system is going to hurt him.
That wasn't the name I was going to say, but that's actually really interesting. Yeah, because you're right. Because like he would get into a win and in situation and all that type of stuff. He would get into a win and he got into a win and in. That's how he got into the playoffs. He never really got in on points.
No.
I do have one name that's interesting. I think Austin Cindric struggles in the system.
Yeah.
I think Cindric struggles. I think that Cindric, Cindric had a great 2024 playoff run and all that type of stuff, and I'm not going to knock him for that. And he was in the playoffs last year, but outside Gateway, his other wins came on super speedways, which is fine, no big deal. But at the same time, like you talk about a driver that has top tier equipment, and it just never is like legit.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're scrolling in the 20s to see his name.
Yeah, especially with the two guys, especially with having a Blaney and a Logano like that. Yeah.
One name I will say, one name that I was thinking about that this system's probably going to help too, Alex Bowman.
Yes.
I think Alex, because you talk about, it doesn't find victory lane, but he puts that 48 car between usually between 9th and like 13th. I mean, he's probably going to not saying he's a champion, but at the point, like he will be in the playoffs more consistently than not. Jack checked in again. He said that I'm an older fan and like that they removed the win to get in. I like the new format. And then for a driver, he said that he thinks we'll struggle in this new format based off performance. He said Harrison Burton. That's a great answer.
I 100%.
That's a great answer if he was. He's a great answer if he was in the Cup though. He's not in the Cup anymore.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's not in the Cup. Speaking of the guy who took over the ride, Josh Berry, what thoughts on him in this new system? I think that's another driver that I think that could probably make noise in this system.
It could, yeah, he could. But I also feel like he
could also fade.
Yeah, I think
could also fade massively.
Yes, because I don't think he's consistent enough. Like, don't get me wrong, he has weeks that he's like, and you hear his name, like, wow, all right. You because I'll be personal. I'll personally be like I forget about him. You know what I mean? And now I don't know. I agree with you, but I also think it could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think drivers looking back at who missed the playoffs last year, I think that drivers like Chris Buescher, Carson Hocevar, we talked about Todd Gilliland. I really think a guy who really missed the playoffs last year and actually, believe it or not, had a career year, Ryan Preece.
Yeah.
Ryan Preece had a career year last year, and he missed the playoffs. I mean, he finished, I think, in the overall final points, if I'm not mistaken. Let me pull it up right now. According to driveraverages.com, he finished 18th. But again, with the way that the playoffs were set up, he was the second driver out of the playoffs.
Okay, yeah. You want to know? You want to know another person that I think this point system is going to take them out of the Cup Series? Noah Gragson.
Yeah, I mean, Gragson had a dreadful year last year. He finished 34th in the points.
I think this point system absolutely. I see somebody else in that car.
Well, now that they won the case, yeah, I could see it too. Jake, let's transition real quick for our listeners. Before we get really the green flag started on 2026, let's talk about all the drivers who basically went, whose driver is driving what car, all that type of stuff. First things first, we're going to start off the Ross Chastain. He remained in the number one Trackhouse car. His sponsorships this year are going to be Busch Beer, Moose Fraternity, Kubota, and Jockey, both returning. Driver number 2 this year, we talked about him, Austin Cindric. He returns with sponsorships from Menards, Discount Tire, Keystone Light, Freightliner, and Snap-on. Austin Dillon will be in the 3 car in 2026 with sponsorships from Bass Pro Shops, BetMGM, Dow, Bioethanol, Titan Risk Solutions, and Boot Barn. We talked about him in driver of the number 4 this year is Noah Gragson. He'll be with Front Row Motorsports, sponsorships with Rush Track Centers, A&W Root Beer, Miller Tech, Title Max, Long John Silver's, Royal Cane, and Grillo's Pickles, which are all over the place, by the way.
Yeah.
Driver of the number 5 in 2026, your champion Kyle Larson. He'll be back in the number 5. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. Main sponsorship, HendrickCars.com. He'll be with Valvoline in 3 races in 2026 as well, which I
Came out
like
with
that
the new
Valvoline
paint.
paint.
They came out with a new paint scheme.
They did. I
His
like
driver, and I like it.
yeah, they came out with a new paint scheme for the HendrickCars.com, but
Yeah.
it looks like identical to what it was last year.
Yeah.
So Brad Keselowski returns to the 6. Castrol as the sponsor, buildsubmarines.com, Fastenal, Solomon Plumbing, Kroger's, Consumer Cellular, and Solomon Plumbing, excuse me. Speaking of Brad Keselowski, you talk about weird offseason. Brad, we didn't even talk about him yet.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, he took the Chase Elliott route.
Yeah, it took the Chase Elliott route, and that was actually a serious injury too.
It
He had actually major surgery. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're saying that he's definitely out for the Busch Light Clash, but they're saying that he could be back. He's trying to push me back for Daytona, but they don't know yet. The driver of the number 7 car for Spire Motorsports this year is going to be Daniel Suarez. Makes the move over to Spire and Freeway Insurance. I'm really starting to like Spire's lineup this year. Driver of the number 8, Richard Childress Racing Cars, Kyle Busch. Cheddar's, Lucas Oil Zone, BetMGM, Rebel Bourbon, and Morgan are sponsors. Driver of the number 9 is Chase Elliott with Napa, Kelly Blue Book, Lumar Films, Universe, Amazon Prime Video as sponsors in 2026. Driver of the number 10, Ty Dillon with Grizzly Nicotine Pouches on board and Seabest. Denny Hamlin returns to Joe Gibbs Racing's number 11 with Sports Clips Haircuts, National Debt Relief, Kings Hawaiian, Yahoo, Progressive Insurance, and Bob's Discount Furniture as the sponsors. Driver of the 12, Ryan Blaney with Menards, Advance Auto Parts, Body Armor Worth, Discount Tire, Dent Wizard, and Wabash as sponsors. AJ Allmendinger will return to Colleague Racing, number 16, with sponsors from Celsius, Leaf Filter, Gutter Protection, Action Industries, Grizzly Nicotine Pouches, and Campers in RV. Chris Buescher returns to the 17 with Fastenal, Fifth Third Bank, Castrol Edge, Spilled Submarines, Travel Centers of America, and Kroger as sponsors. Chase Briscoe will be in 19 in 2026 with Bass Pro Shops, Columbia Bank, Freebird, Southern Spring Water as sponsors for his ride. Christopher Bell will be in the 20 with DeWalt, Rheem, Interstate Batteries, Yahoo, and Sports Clips as sponsors. Josh Berry will be in the 21 with Motorcraft, Quick Lane, and PPG as sponsors in 2026. Joey Logano will be in the 22 with Shell Pennzoil, Hunt Brothers Pizza, AAA Insurance. Bubba Wallace returns to the 23 car with 23XI. So McDonald's, Columbia Sportswear, U.S. Air Force, Leidos, Mobile One, and Chubba Casino will be the main sponsors for him. William Byron returns to the 24 with Exalta Raptor as the primary sponsor with Liberty University, only doing 3 races in 2026. So they reduced their sponsorship. But Valvoline picked up those other multiple races, and ZHP Printers with Cincinnati as well. Todd Gilliland will be piloting the number 34 this year with Love's Travel Stops, A&W Restaurants, Girls Pickles, Aaron's, and Frontline Enterprises as sponsors. Riley Herbst will be returning to the 35, which was kind of a big, interesting move in my opinion, with Monster Energy as the main sponsor. Zane Smith will be with the number 38 Front Row Motorsports with Speedy Cash, Tile Max, Benabone, Horizon Hobby, Aaron's, and Long John Silver's as sponsors. Haas Factory Team, their only entry this year in 2026 will be with Cole Custer. And interesting to note, they are going from Ford to Chevrolet this year. There'll be a Chevy team in 2026 with Haas Automation, HaasTooling.com, Bonanza Wine, Andy's Frozen Custard, and Autodesk as sponsors. John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones will be piloting the 2 legacy cars, the number 42 and the number 43 in 2026, with both of them having Dollar Tree, Family Dollar as sponsors, and Advent Health. The driver of the 45 this year will be Tyler Reddick with Monster Energy, McDonald's, Jordan Brand, Xfinity, Mobile One, Sirius XM, Chubba Casino, and Supply Houses, the main sponsors for him. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will be returning to Hayek Motorsports number 47 with Sonny D, Nas, and Chef Boyardee, as discussed earlier in the show. Driver of the 48 will be Alex Bowman with Ally Financial in all races. Number 51 will be piloted by Cody Ware, which that's another team that switched manufacturers in 2026. They'll be going from Ford over to Chevrolet with Jacob Companies, Arby's, and Parts Plus as sponsors. Driver of the 54 this year, Ty Gibbs with Interstate Batteries, Monster Energy, Sirius XM, and Saya Freight as the sponsors. Driver of the 60 will be Ryan Priest. He returns at RFK Racing with Kroger, Build Submarines, Castrol, Mohawk Northeast, Fastenal, Solomon Plumbing, Consumer Cellular, Bodyguard, and Trimble as sponsors. And then driver of the number 71 will be Michael McDowell. He's got Blaster, Workforce, Go Bowling, Gamebridge, Delaware Life as sponsors. And then driver to the 77 is Carson Hocevar with Ziegler Auto Group, Delaware Life, Gamebridge, and Chili's as sponsors this year. Driver of the 88 this year, new number for this driver, Connor Zillage will be in the number 88 Trackhouse car, sponsored by Red Bull. And his crew chief, they made the crew chief switch. Randall Burnett goes over from Kyle Busch, and he goes over to Connor Zillage, which I love that pairing, by the way.
Yeah.
Great crew chief with a young driver. I love that pairing. And then last but not least, the final entry in the Cup Series in 2026 will be the number 97 will be returning back on track at Trackhouse Racing with Shane Van Gisbergen and piloting with Jockey, Red Bull, and Safety Culture as the main sponsors. So that's your driver lineup that you'll be seeing on the track each and every single Sunday. Jake, I made that comment. I really do kind of like the Spire Motorsports lineup this year.
Yes.
You talk about a driver who, personally for me, you talk about a driver in Hocevar who has a lot of learning to do. He's got two veteran leaders now in that shop with Michael McDowell and Daniel Suarez. I do like what Spire's building, especially what we talked about during the Chase discussion. This is a playoff system that's going to benefit, to me, all three of those drivers.
Yes.
So I like the track. I like the Spire lineup. I really love the Randall Burnett and Connor Zillage pairing. I really love that pairing.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, when Reddick went over to 23XI, I was shocked that Burnett stayed at RCR.
And didn't follow.
I was shocked. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't follow him because Burnett was his crew chief all through the lower level series. So I like that move with Randall Burnett. I think, again, Trackhouse made the right move by bringing him over and trying to develop your young driver with a nice crew chief and Randall Burnett. So finally, last but not least, final question of the night for the audience and to you, Jake, before we sign off. What do you expect from some of the new drivers who went to new places? Which driver do you think is going to exceed expectations in their new place, and all that good stuff?
I mean, I like Dan. I'm gonna after you. You mean you just said it, but I like Daniel Suarez.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think you with this point system too, you might see him up there. I think he could have a chance to make it into the 16. I'm so excited to see Connor Zillage race in Cup Series.
Yeah,
I'm very pumped to see him race.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, Zillage to me, I'm really excited to see what this kid's going to do. I mean, last year in the Xfinity Series took the league by storm, in my opinion. A lot of people have compared him to the next Jeff Gordon. As a prospect, I would probably agree that the trends and the lines are going in that direction. I think Trackhouse nailed it out of the park by grabbing him as a developmental driver and then riding all the way up. This is exactly what I think Justin Marks was waiting for. Yeah. They were waiting for that time for Daniel Suarez, which I think Suarez did not do a bad job at Trackhouse. I will never say that. Like, he was the reason why Trackhouse is the way it is now. But at some point, drivers move on from teams that when they first start off, we saw it with Brett Bodine and we saw it with, Rick Hendrick, right? Once All-Star became Hendrick Motorsports, sometimes drivers end up having to move on because the team just becomes better. Yeah. I think that's the case with Trackhouse Racing. But I do like where Daniel Suarez landed. I like him at Spire. I think that the expectations are going to be very low. And I think when the expectations are low, that's when he shocks the world primarily, right?
Yeah.
Trackhouse had no business winning races in 2022. He won a race. not saying Daniel Suarez is going to win a race, but I do like the landing spot for him as well. But yeah, Zillage is probably the biggest one that I think everyone's excited about. Is there a driver that you're expecting a massive decline from this year that could be on the hot seat?
I personally think if Bowman doesn't do much with this new system that should help him, I could see that seat open.
Yeah,
It's
that's
probably
a
the
good one.
biggest one that I can think of. I personally think, to be honest with you, and it sucks because I like him and I like him as a driver, but we already talked about it. This point system should help him, and if it doesn't prove that it doesn't help him, I don't see how Rick Hendrick keeps him in that car.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I'm surprised that he returned. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
with how, but that just basically tells me the prospects in Chevrolet is probably 1 year away from some of these guys coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I could see a couple. I mean, to be honest with you, I could see a couple guys on the hot seat this year, and it has nothing to do with. I mean, the new playoff system should help some of these drivers, but I think that some of these guys are going to be on the hot seat. One, Kyle Busch. I think Kyle Busch is on the hot seat.
Yeah.
They got Jesse Love in the lower level series at RCR, and like it sucks. It comes down to if it came down between Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon, you get rid of Austin Dillon. Sorry,
100%.
but you're not getting rid of Austin Dillon. But if Jesse Love takes the next step, which I'm expecting it to happen as a prospect watch, then Kyle Busch is probably on the hot seat in 2026. So he's got to put up or shut up this year. Other drivers I expect to be on the hot seat. I expect Ty Gibbs to be on the hot seat. I know Joe Gibbs' grandson, all that type of stuff, but Joe Gibbs Racing has a level of expectation. They win. Just like Kirk Signetti says, I win, Google me. That's Joe Gibbs. I win,
Mm-hmm.
Google me. And when your grandson's not winning, and the three others were near, all three of them racing for a championship in 2025, it's a pretty ugly look.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty ugly look. And it seems to me that Gibbs is not getting better the way that he's supposed to be getting. That line's not going up. That line is getting like this, flat.
Yeah.
Because let me ask you, I mean, I'll ask anybody online right now. What was the biggest highlight of Ty Gibbs' career so far? Probably Bristol in 2024.
Yeah.
Just making the playoffs and not winning is not going to cut it at Joe Gibbs Racing. So I can see Ty Gibbs being on the hot seat.
Yeah. Didn't he just win like the in-season championship?
Yeah, well, I mean, which meant what? Nothing.
That's the closest to a championship I see him ever getting.
Yeah, probably.
With the word championship in it.
I mean, I could see Gibbs, like, if Gibbs struggles again this year, I could see him getting bumped back down. I really could. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad move because if he doesn't win a race this year, then you're probably looking at, okay, we got to put you back. Like, they did the same thing with Cole Custer. They gave Custer a leash, a short leash. He didn't put up for a couple years. Guess what they did? I mean, after 3 years in the Cup, they put him back down in the Xfinity. Now they got brought back up again. I'm not saying Gibbs is done in the Cup Series, but it has to be a conversation if he does not win a race.
Yeah.
Other drivers, I'm going to give an underdog driver that I think that could be on the hot seat big time this year, entering 2026. That's Shane Van Gisbergen. I think Justin Marks is willing and is always willing to try to get better, right? That's their goal at Trackhouse, to accomplish championships and get better. And if SVG does not get better on ovals, but is winning road courses, that's great and all. But the point is to win a championship.
Oh yeah, now winning five road courses isn't helping the team out anything anyway. Yeah, you're getting wins, but
no. So those are my
they
three.
They played the system with him with that old point system, and they did it fantastically.
Yeah,
but it's like
absolutely.
you said, if you can't win or consistently not consistently, but get a handful of top fives, top tens, like you got no business in the Cup Series then, unfortunately.
Yeah, so those are my three drivers I think that are on the hot seat entering 2026. I think it's Kyle Busch, Ty Gibbs, and Shane Van Gisbergen. And Jake, you're going to go with Alex Bowman.
Yeah, Alex Bowman, and I like Kyle Busch.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's that. Jake, check a flag on tonight's first ever episode or not first ever. God,
first ever in 2026.
Thank you. I'm a little rusty tonight. I'm a little rusty. It's been a long off season. My heart got ripped out by the damn San Francisco 49ers, but it's all good.
At least you
I
aren't
mean,
going to get ripped out and stomped on.
yeah, well, I mean, when they lose to that franchise, it always does. But it's all good. Um, thank you all again so much for tuning in tonight on our first show of 2026. Sorry about technical difficulties to start the show off a little bit delayed. If you love what you're hearing, again, follow us on YouTube at the Broken Wheelbarrian Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at the Broken Wheelbarrian Podcast. iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify. We'll be posting our episodes live. I'll be posting them up. I'll be posting this one up tomorrow for your listening audience. Again, thanks for everyone tuning in. Make sure you tune in on Thursdays on our Facebook page at the Broken Wheelbarrian Podcast. We got our Thirsty Thursday question, first one of the year, going up tomorrow. Lots discussed tonight. Feel free to reach out to us on any topic that we discuss, and if you have an opinion, we would love to talk to you. Feel free to chime in. Jake, next episode. Not making the announcement yet, but I'm tuned into our next episode. We have a massive surprise coming on to our next episode. So tune in. That'll be 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks. So we're still on a bi-weekly episode basis until the Busch Light Clash. Once the Clash hits, that's what we'll go regular every single week. Again, thank you so much for everyone tuning in tonight. Blown Into Chat Line was popping. We appreciate it. Appreciate the conversation. Jake, pleasure this evening.
Yep.
Can't wait till the next episode. Have a wonderful night, all. Enjoy your weekend, wherever it's doing. If you're watching football, if you're a fan of any of these teams, I hope you all lose. Especially the Broncos with Sean Payton. With all that being said, have a wonderful night. Be safe. Be well. Talk to you next week or 2 weeks from now. Good night.